Good afternoon, good morning, and perhaps even good evening. Thank you so much for dropping by and joining me for another exciting session on the purple side. It's always nice to be back on Twitch. Such a nice chilled atmosphere, and it's always wonderful to hang out, no matter if we're having it on in the background or if we're actively watching. It's just wonderful to see you all. Mr. Chris, what an coincidence bumping into you here. Great little merch designs there. Tell me a little bit more about them. I only caught the last 5 minutes of your stream, and I'm not sure what you're using them for. I understand new shop. Teespring wasn't for you. It's fine. What is it for the t-shirt, mugs? Tell me all about it. Very exciting. I need to look into more merch, so perhaps I can get inspired, as I always am, by your streams. And Mr. Beard Goblin, so nice to see you. Just the man. We'll talk about that little tip you gave me with the Sinti horses a little bit later. And of course, Mr. Rod, wonderful to see you. Good to see that latest page of the girls from TNA on Renderosity. Very good. Anyone else who's out there watching who's not actively in the chat, totally fine. Thank you for dropping by. Let me kind of get ready here. I don't think I really am ready. Let me just go and see if we can... Do we have a bit of music here that we can play? Yes. Let's do that. Perhaps Mr. Jerry McHoy. I did find a way to play all his tracks. So we'll see what this is like. It's kind of smooth jazz in the background. Let's see if it's nice. Well, Beard Goblin has told me something. Maybe I will share that with you quite quickly about... this was a private message on Twitter, actually. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. That was about 2 links here. Let me go get those out. That is how we can indeed put... This is how we can use horses in that little Western pack that we're building right now. And there is this thing on the Unity asset store which is called the Polygon horse pack, and that is just looks exactly like the thing we need for our little project, because it has low poly horses. I would love to use them with my project, but sadly they're not made for Unreal Engine, so these are only made for Unity, and they require something else. But that would just be an awesome thing if we could, if we could have that in the little project. They say here this asset requires the Horse AnimSet Pro writing system. No, don't go away, terrible. And that is of course something else which is currently on sale on the Unity asset store for $30 instead of 60. But because it's Unity, it's not really useful for the project we're building in Unreal Engine, so it's one of those things. But it takes a little bit of time to load that 3D preview. But I can, look around and see this guy running into the sunset. These are the animations for the horse, and you can see all tons of animations are in here, and the rider kind of parents to the horse, so no matter which character you use, it just parents with the hip bone to the horse. That just looks super exciting. He has several horses in this pack, so the realistic ones, they look a bit like the Das horse. It's very cool stuff. There's also kind of a low poly horse. I don't know if we can see it here, but that kind of comes natively in this pack. But of course, it's all Unity. It's not Unreal Engine. What a shame. And the low poly horse, I think we can just about see it here. He does have a low poly horse here. So he does the same vendor, Burst Animations. He makes a similar pack on the Unreal Engine marketplace for a little bit less cash, $40 instead of 60. And it's the same horses, it's the same animations, but it doesn't contain a controller as such. So even though we do have all the same animations, there's a little video that you can see here as well. This is the low poly horse here. This is the thing that he makes. So that could potentially work really well with the pack, even if we don't have the actual Sinti horses. We could potentially get away with this guy. If I can make that work now, that would be seriously the icing on the cake. Hello, Joe. Top of the afternoon. Good to see you. Very nice to see you again. No, absolutely. That is a great way to do that. Send me a private message. That is perfect. I read them all. Private messages, public tweets in which I'm at it, the Discord notifications, Facebook messages. I'm reading them all. Comments on YouTube, everything. That is so nice of you to say that. How exciting, Joe. That is really cool. I'm glad you could make it. Here's the realistic horse. and these are all kinds of animations here. So I'm thinking, so I put this, both me and Beard Goblin, we both have put this little goodie on our wish list. The Unreal Engine Marketplace has a wish list up here. That's quite nice, so we can, you know, keep an eye on it and see when it's available for a little bit less cash. We can totally see if we wanted to do that. What I want to do today, though, so this is kind of, you know, for the future, I'm keeping an eye on this. What I want to do, however, is make my little project Gamepad compatible. So the first thing that we'll do for that is I'm using a PlayStation controller, golden PlayStation controller, and for that I'm going to use DS4 Windows, so that if I go and do that, DS4 Windows tricks Windows into thinking this is an Xbox 360 controller, and therefore native integration will work. That's number one. So now it's as if I have a PlayStation controller, it's as if I have a Xbox controller connected to my system. And next I'll go open my project and see what's already working that we don't need to tweak. You know, it's always nice to not tweak everything. Have you noticed, by the way, if you open the Unreal kind of, you know, launcher thing here, have you noticed who's featured on the right hand side? Front page here, make games with Katie. Wow, congrats. I'm looking forward to her next episode already. Yes, she's featured here. Very cool. That is, I hope that gets a bit of you know, gets a bit of traffic there. I hope that'd be good. So we have something along the lines of Western. There we go. Polygon Western. This is probably our project. Yes, that's it. Let's do that. We'll open that and see what type of gamepad integration we already have. I like cows as well. Yes, I wouldn't say I'm a rider or anything, not at all, but I do like horses. I love looking at them. They're just so big and magnificent creatures, aren't they? So maybe I can make it happen that we can leap on and off enthusiastically on horses, because hey, it's a Western scene. There's got to be horses, don't there? So I have a feeling that the vendor of that horse product, he says that the Unreal version is a little bit cheaper because it doesn't contain the horse controller. And I have a feeling that happens because, I'll go open these assets here. I have a feeling that happens because, so he gives us the animations and he gives us, you know, things to make it work, but I have a feeling there's a lot of work required to actually let our character approach a horse, press a button, and him then cueing the animation of leap on the horse, then you're on the horse and you do the idle animation, then you run with the horse, and there's kind of a transfer of control. So I have no idea how to do any of that. So, you know, this is something that would be nice to implement, but it might also be something that'll never happen. So let's go and click our project off here, F11 to make it full screen. I'm using my game controller here, and I'll see that most of the stuff is already working. So I can jump, I can run around. That's cool. I can also take my orange cursor out of the way. But of course, currently I can't bring up the menu because I haven't mapped that to any of the game controller buttons. So I'll do that now. And but watch what happens that when we were bringing up the menu, this is what happens. We can do that. We currently can't actually select a character with the gamepad right now. All we can do is jump. And that is because none of these buttons here in my menu have keyboard focus. So that's the first thing I need to do. A bit of keyboard focus, put that on any button really. Ideally on the button of the character that is pre-selected. So in my case, this guy is technically this guy. So what we'll write some logic for is to extract which guy is selected and then make sure that highlights the background of this button a little bit better. So currently nothing is highlighted. You can just about see if I hover my mouse over something, there is a little bit of a highlight color that's changing in the background, but we currently don't have keyboard focus here. So let's make that happen first. I'll put the keyboard focus on the first button just so that we have something there, so I can show you what is already implemented with the controller logic that's very closely related to making a selection with the keyboard, with, you know, tapping through and then hitting return to make a selection. So that is currently not working. So let me see if I can remember how to do that. That, I believe, is in our character, namely where we show the menu. That's where we do that. This is that logic that says if the menu is being summoned, we're querying, is it already visible? And if it's not, then we'll show it. And if it is visible, then we're hiding it. So this is something that we need to do on our show menu thing. We just need to apply keyboard focus on that button. So let me see how I do that. Perhaps should I do that in a function? Apply keyboard. Yes, I will do that in a function, because that function is going to increase in code. So let's do that. Add function, add keyboard focus. That should do the trick. Before I forget what I wanted to do there, let's add that here. Add keyboard focus. So just when we show the menu, we're adding keyboard focus to our menu. And now let's have a look at what logic might be required to do that. First of all, since the menu is being brought up by our actual menu here, let's grab a selection, let's grab a reference to the selection menu. From it, I need to extract a button. In a moment, we'll write more logic here. Right now, I'm just going to use the first button, so that's called BTN character 1. So let's grab a reference from that. Get BTN character 1, there we go. And that is the thing that I'd like to add keyboard focus to. So add oops, no, that's not it. It's called set keyboard focus, there we go. We can say has it keyboard focus, can set keyboard focus, there we go. That's all we'll do for now. And that'll be all for now. Just to run a little test here. That if something else I haven't done is how, let's make it possible to actually bring up the menu not just from the Alt key but from the Gamepad. So I'll go into my project settings here. Input, and there's this thing up here called summon menu, and we've just mapped the Alt left key to that. Let's go and map the top right shoulder button. I think that's a good way to bring that up. And now we can just go into Gamepad and look for where that is. I think we can probably look for shoulder button. There we go. Gamepad shoulder right. There we go. That's it. That should be that. So the controller now can summon the menu and probably also dismiss the menu again. Let's try that. There we go. Alt key still works. Awesome. Controller works, and button works. Look at that. Keyboard is being thingy is being brought up with my game controller now. Very good stuff. But what's currently not happening is it won't let me select anything, which is, I can still jump. So that is, that's not exactly what we want here. So something hasn't quite happened just yet. So that's not good. And that is because I don't actually know why that is. I can just tell you that is why it doesn't work. That just before we add the keyboard focus here, that's in the where we actually show the menu. Just before we do that, we need to add a small bit of a delay. Really, don't ask me why. It's just what we need to do here. So we just go add a delay in there, which I can't do in the function. Functions can't contain timelines for some reason or delays. So anything that has to do with the delta, I have a feeling that's just not quite working. Delay, just any old delay. There we go. 0.2 seconds is probably fine. 0.1 seconds is probably also going to be fine. And now, watch what happens next. We bring up the menu and we don't seem to see anything. But if you look closely, there is not so much when the menu comes up, but if I do my selection now with the left and right key on the D-pad here, look that see that there is a tiny dotted line around my characters. And that is now just an indication for us that there's keyboard focus on that particular key. So if I bring it up, the keyboard focus is indeed on this first button. We just don't see the dotted line. If I move to the right, I see the dotted line and I can see it going left and right. And more importantly, if I go and pick a character of my choice, if I press the X button on my controller, I can now go and move to that character. So that is basically that functionality in there. We just can't see it at the moment. We can do that. We can pick ourselves a character and go maybe to town. I suppose town is there. There we go. That's town. I can barely see it, but if I do click it, I can go load my town level, which is awesome. So, it takes a little bit of time, but it does work. So that's essentially the basic bulk of it. There we go, in town. Awesome. And yeah, her skirt still doesn't work the way we want it, but it does work in principle, and that's just beautiful. So all we need to do now is literally some graphic retouching, so that we can actually see which character we're selecting, because currently that's very, very difficult. I don't think anyone would get that there's that line. So yeah, we'll make that happen, and we'll do some other improvements, like if I use this with my keyboard, I'm happy to select the character like this and then dismiss the keyboard manually again with Alt. But I think if I were on a gamepad, I would like to select the character and then for the menu to disappear immediately. So we'll do all these things. I'd also like to change this message here that says currently change outfits with 1 to 4. We want to map those to the buttons on the gamepad, so we'll get to all that. But let's see if we can implement a different highlight on the background of the button so that we can see which character is selected, so I can put my focus, make my focus of the menu a little bit more visible. Let's do that. If I can remember. Oh, I'm sure I can. And if not, I have notes. I've taken notes on my website. It very much comes in handy. Yes, she needs to wear more clothes. I totally agree. So then. The code will technically take place in Add Keyboard Focus. So now that it's in principle working, this is where we're gonna make that change, where we're gonna add the keyboard focus. So rather than just pick the first button, I'm gonna devise some code that lets me check which button is pressed. And I think I'll get that. I'm gonna build something for that on my selection menu, namely a map of buttons. Do you remember this map, this material map? I'm gonna build something similar in my selection menu, because it has all my buttons. It knows all my buttons. So I'm going to go and add myself a new graph here. Stash character, that was a function. We don't need that anymore. This is for all kinds of other generic stuff. The event graph. I'm going to make a new event graph, and that I'll call focus. There we go. It's going to be a lengthy function. And in focus, I believe, if I'm correct, I've been using the event pre-construct. That's perfect. Now I'm going to use the event construct. So I'm just going to go delete that from here. And on event construct, I'll go make that happen. So event construct. No, I don't actually. Will I? Yes, on event construct. I'll do that on event construct. I'm going to make something happen that will... Do I need to really do that? I don't really need to do that. Forget about it. Hang on a second. Forget focus. That's not... We don't need it. We don't need it here. I'm getting slightly confused. What we need to make is just a function in here that'll build my mesh map variable. So let's go and just create ourselves a function, not an event graph, and call that build mesh map. I'm thinking we had a material map on here, didn't we? Yes. And now we're going to make a mesh map, and we're going to construct that here in this function, and that can really just be called up here. I don't need to do anything else for that. So let's go and call that here, event pre-construct build mesh map. There we go. And this is just so that this variable will be initialized here, and on that I'll go and start making myself another variable. So this one, we'll call that mesh map. It's going to be a map or a dictionary again, and its input, well, Boolean can't be, so I'll switch its input to a button And this might be, is it going to be button? Is it going to be button? Let's see. We're getting a button out and we want to find a material. I think that's what we want to do, isn't it? No, we're going to get, we're going to get a string value in and we're going to get a button out. That's how we do this. So it's going to be a string value, string in. String can be a dictionary or a map. And out we want to have a button. Just a regular button. And that we can then use to pop directly into on our character. That'll be this button. So whatever value comes out of this map variable will be the button that we can set keyboard focus on. And we're going to query here which character do we currently have. That gets us a string value, and that'll be then translated with the find node into a button with this thing. It's a little bit convoluted, but hey, one of those things. Let's see if I can remember how to do it. So our mesh map, let's set it here because we're building it. Last time we built it with the sidebar. Today, so now we're going to build it literally with nodes. So the mesh map, this is a bit like an array. When you drag off here on an array, you can say something like make array, but you can also say make a map. And that's then a node that lets us add key value pairs here manually to it. And the keys are going to be the string values of whatever character is currently selected, so whatever mesh is currently selected. And the values are going to be literally all our buttons here. So I'll just go and drag these in here. And Unreal will make that connection already. I don't have to hook that up. We have, let me just quickly remind myself how many buttons, including all these buttons. We have characters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we have 9, 10, 11 buttons in total. So these need to also be included because we want to potentially apply a highlight or a background color onto those. How many did I say? 8, 9, 10, 11. Perfect. Just so that I know how many times I need to press this button. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Perfect. Now let's go drag all the other buttons in here. Oops. Character 3. That's nice. Character 4. Character 5. I wish I could do multiple, but I don't think it works. And we can try 6. So now I can only select 1. So that goes here. That goes there. That goes there. 8. And then we have, just so that I remember the order of them, town, desert, quit. I don't think it's important really. I just want to make sure I remember. So town, desert, and quit. Have we got a few too many here? Oh yeah, look at that. I think quit shouldn't be here. It's town. What's happening? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is missing. Hey, uncool. Six, there we go. 7, 8. Desert. Town. And quit. There we go. We're going to build an array out of this later so that we can have, you know, just an array of buttons. So that's kind of for later. So that's all our values. Now, what are the keys? Surely you jest. I totally agree, though. There is a lot of women with scantily clad women in Rod's comics involved, isn't there? Interesting, yes. Now that you mention it. In fact, are there ever any male heroes in the story, or they're all just female heroes, aren't they? Interesting. There is a director, I suppose he's kind of a hero. Now, to see what we'll actually query here, let's do that. Let's go unhook this button. This is in the character, the other thing is in the menu, and the selection menu is gonna come in play in a minute. Let me just go and determine the value that we have here. So we're going to look at the mesh. It will then get us the skeletal mesh. So skeletal mesh, there we go, get skeletal mesh. And it, I'll stack those up here, will give us a display name. So get display name. And that'll be the string that we're going to put into that map variable. So this string will be the equivalent of meshes characters. There we go. Oh, that's actually the frontier. So those are not the ones we want to query. Those are kind of the new ones already. I don't know how, if and how we're going to make those selectable. This here is the text we want to query. See that here? Whatever this mesh is named, SK character bad guy. So because these are not very memorable, I'm just going to go hit F2 and hit copy. And then I'll go pop all those into these key values here. Key values, into these key boxes here. It's number 1. Businessman. Number 2, cowboy, and it has to be exact, otherwise there's no match. Cowgirl, y'all. Character gunman, F2 and copy. This is the physics asset, so we're not going to count that. This is the skeleton, we're also not going to count that. But this one here, character the sheriff, he's a bit like the director of the Girls from TNA, isn't he? That, and then we have SK woman 01. And then we have working girl. There, and that's perfect. Those are all our characters. Now these 3 at the bottom here, they still need keys. I can't leave this empty. The way the dictionaries work is if you have values, they have to have unique keys. So I can't give it the second key that I've given it here already. So I must make sure they have some keys. We're not ever going to need them, but I just need to put them in there just so that, you know, Unreal Engine is happy. So I'm going to call this one desert, and I'm going to call this one town. Town even, and then I'm going to call this one correct with a capital Q. Good point. Some men do like it, and some do even look good at it. It's a good point. That's it. This is our mesh map built, and we have the according button value. That's all cool. Let me just go and compile that and see if we can utilize this to bring focus onto the correctly highlighted button. So there's still a lot of work to be done, but this is now in our character here. I've got my mesh map hopefully constructed in the menu. I'll grab a reference to the menu out here. From it I can grab my, what's it called node here, the mesh map, get mesh map from here. And on the mesh map, I can probably just go stack this as well, can't I? Oi! Oi, stack him high. From here I can now go and drag out my find node, and the find node gets an input from here, which is the string, and outputs a button. And this is kind of why I did it that way. The output is now, as we hover over it, it tells me button object reference. That can now go into here, because that will now set the focus on a button, on a particular button. So this now should, let's hope, should now, if we go into this, maybe make this a bit smaller again, and go into full view, take my game controller. Just like before, when I bring up the menu, there is a button focus on there already. We just don't see the first one. But if I go to the right of it, I'm expecting this guy to highlight now. Let's see if my theory is correct. If I do that, yes, look at that, he highlights. And then if I go and select him, he can be selected. So it's literally the first thing that happens when we bring up the menu. Currently we don't see it, we just assume the button focus is on here. So if I go to the right now, I should see the cowgirl, which I do. There we go. So she now has that dotted line, and I can go and select her as well. That's cool. That's kind of, part one of the 7-stage puzzle here. We've got some kind of keyboard focus going, and we are technically highlighting the correct character. We just don't see it very well. So now let's devise a logic that changes the background on each of these buttons, depending on the fact that if they're highlighted or not. So currently they all look the same, but I would only like the ones to look like this that are not highlighted, and the cowgirl, like this one here, I'd like for that to be whatever, green or something. Let's see if we can make that happen. And also let me see if I can remember how that happens. This is something we'll build on the menu, because it's kind of menu related. I like that. Let's do that. So we can do that here. I think this is where I would potentially like my other graph. Otherwise it gets a bit too convoluted in here. Maybe I will make myself a new event graph called focus after all. Let's do that. So new focus graph, that's a function, totally not what I want. Let's go get rid of that again. Should have just left the other event graph there. There, event graph, that's what I want. I'll call this one focus, and then I'll build the whole event focus logic in here. And I will in fact do that from the event construct. That's cool. So on that, I will make a timer by event, I suppose. So this is going to be a looping thing that'll happen every 0.1 seconds. For now, I think I might tweak this a little bit later so that we are a little bit more efficient about this. Currently, this is going to be, you could put this on a tick event that will happen like every frame. That would be way overkill for a menu. This is still a little bit much because I'm building it so that this happens all the time. I suppose I'm going to build this, I'm going to do a branch there that checks, is the menu actually visible? If it is visible, then we're going to do this. If it's not visible, then we're not going to do this. But for now, we're just going to make it happen so that it actually, does happen. So looping every 0.1 seconds, and the event, we're going to go and create a custom event here. Call it check focus, actually. Hello. Snappy. Check. Thank you. Focus. There we go. Takes a while to be processed here. Don't know why. Check focus. I don't really understand the Walmart reference myself, Rod. Enlighten us. What do the girls with less clothes happen to do with Walmart? So on my check focus event, I'm going to go and do a branch. And here I'll ask, does whatever I'm going to question in a minute have keyboard focus? And if so, provide a different highlight than on the other one. So I guess I'm going to go and grab myself something else actually that we haven't got yet, and that is a button map. So do you remember when we built the mesh map, we have the whole map variable here with all the keys and values. Now I'd like to create something else that I'll be able to query here, namely an array of all my buttons. So let's go and do that in a new variable. I'll call this one all buttons, or my buttons, or menu buttons, or whatever. And this here is going to be, I'll have to go and click onto the middle here and make sure this is going to be an array. Alrighty, it's not going to be a string array, it's going to be an array of buttons. That one here, button object reference. And with that, I'm going to go and set this right after we've made the mesh map, because it's kind of an initialization thing. So I'll just go and drag that out here. Set all buttons. That'll take an array as an input. And what I can do now is I can go and ask my my mesh map to give me all the values. So there's another one that gives me all the keys. We're interested in literally all these buttons that I've put in here, and that's kind of easy to do. So I think it's just called values. There we go. Values, and it actually goes in here, doesn't it? So all the values out of the mesh variable, out of the mesh, the mesh map, are now being pumped into my new variable, which is called all buttons. There we go. Now that we have that, a new variable, we can go into here. In fact, postpone that to here a little bit. I'll go, no, actually, this was perfectly fine here. All our buttons get a reference to that. And add literally a for each loop here. For each loop. That'll take everything that's in the array. So that does need to go in here, doesn't it? Duh. So that takes everything, every element in the all buttons array. So every single button, and loops through. And on it, I can go and ask something. So now I'm going to go ahead and say on this array element, on each and every single one of them, I can say, do you have keyboard focus? So I'm going to grab that state out of there. So has keyboard focus. There we go. That's it. That delivers me a Boolean that I will query. Does it have keyboard focus? And if it does, then I will go and also grab a reference to this element, which is that button, then set the background color on that thing to something. So I'll go drag that out here and say set background color. That's the true branch. I'll make that a little bit pretty, like so. And that background color, let's go and pick something that we, can all agree on and appreciate. Something like a nice green. I'll leave the opacity as it is. And the other one is going to be the same thing. Array element, set background color. I like to be whatever it is now. Who's what? Can I remember the color? Let me haphazard a guess here, real quick. There, pretty. So that background color, I have to cheat. I'm gonna have to have a look. Oh, Miss Christina, hello, welcome. So good to see you. I have so enjoyed your curves video. That was really good. It was extremely long, and I'm so glad you made all these notes in there. The way you explain things is just absolutely marvelous. So thank you so much for doing that. It took me 2 days to watch, but only because I don't just watch it. I'll basically pause the video and I'll do literally how you're going through the add-on, and it is just so beautiful. It's exactly the kind of tools I've been missing in Blender. So thank you so much for bringing that to my attention. Wonderful work. Chris actually has already streamed today. He's been making some merch designs. I just caught the tail end of that. That was quite nice. Let me see what that background color was that we set here. So 1, 1, 1, and 0.8. Alrighty. Point 1, whoops, sorry. 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, and 0.8 was it? I think. It looks a little bit light, but it could well be, yeah, and 0.8. Okay. So that should have, should that do it? I say, really? Is that what we're doing? Is that all there's to it? I don't know. Let's try it out. If it doesn't work, I'll be I don't know what I'll do. Does it compile? Yes, it does. Does this compile? Oh, that's already compiled. Alrighty, let's see what happens. So the moment of truth here, let's go bring up that menu and see which character is highlighted. So this guy is the guy with the hat and the glasses, and it works. Look at that. This guy is now highlighted. That is perfect. So, and because it's a continuous event, I can now go and see my highlight here. So it's a little bit convoluted. I will explain it one more time, just so that we're all, you know, on the same page here. So if I now go and say, I'll select the Lady of the Night here. I'll go put my menu back, I'll walk around a bit, I'll bring the menu back up, she should be pre-selected, and that's kind of the point of why we've been doing this. So the moment the gamepad brings up the menu, the character is now pre-selected. And I mean, it's the same thing when we bring up the menu with the keyboard, that's, you know, the same thing. But the idea is now we can actually see which of our characters are selected. So if I select this guy again, bring up the menu again, he is pre-selected. And if I select her, then she is pre-selected. And that's all possible because of our dictionary kind of mesh map that we're querying. So the reason why this works, let me just go and explain this one more time. The reason why this works is because on our character here, when we actually bring up the menu, we're saying, is the menu visible? If it is, then hide it. If it's not, then bring it up. Then we have to do this little delay here in order for the add keyboard focus to that particular button to work. So add keyboard focus, that's my function that I've made here, and it is applying a keyboard focus to a particular button. Now, which button is what we're finding out here. We're extracting from our mesh, our skeletal mesh, we're taking from that the display name, and that's a string value, hence the purple line. That will then query our mesh map that we've made in the menu to say, hey, is there a button that corresponds to this particular string value, which is now kind of the name of the mesh that is currently selected. And if there is, then set keyboard focus onto that button that we're applying, that we're supplying here. And this works because in the menu, we've built that mesh map, namely like this. So this is an initializer method essentially that creates the mesh map, and we're manually saying this button corresponds to this string value, this button corresponds to this string value, and so forth. And that's the key value thing. Once we have that, we also set grab an array just out of the buttons here. We're basically dropping the values for this variable, so it's second variable. One is called the mesh map. That's what we're using in the character. The other one is called all buttons, and that's just an array. And now that we have all buttons, and we have already applied a keyboard focus onto a particular one of them, we can go through it literally every 0.1 seconds of our entire lives, no matter if the menu is visible or not, something we should change in a minute. We're going through it and we're saying, hey, does this button, through all of which we're looping here, does this particular button, so it goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it goes, does this button have a background highlight? Is there a keyboard focus on it? Because if there is, then apply a different color here. So if it doesn't, then go gray. If it does have focus, then go green. And that is why that works. It is, yes. And also, Rod, the other thing is that so games are a bit like animations. They're displayed in 60 frames a second or faster sometimes even. And so while I'm now live moving my screen here, technically we're seeing, even when I'm not moving anything, we're seeing a series of 60 frames a second, at least on the stream. I mean, that's why if you look closely at the clouds, they kind of drift away, or this thing, you know, spins around here. We don't really need it, but it does that. So you can attach actions to something that happens on every frame. So even though to us it appears like a very fluid motion, to the computer there's a whole bunch of other stuff it could be doing in between those frames and before each frame is calculated. So that's like how this animation is brought up here. So this is all in between each frame something happens, and at each frame I could ask a question: are you highlight, button? And if you are, then display a different thing. And so I'm a little bit more gentle on the system. I'm not doing this on every frame. I'm doing this every 0.1 seconds. So if I make that delay longer, then it'll take longer for the highlight to come in. But you know, it'll be fine this way. Yes, it is. It's very different the way computer games work, or video games work. Oh no, don't do that. Oh, it's so expensive, Christina. It's such a shame that they can't just replace or that it's not cheaper to replace the battery on your other phone. That is a shame. There we go. So that's that. There's only one thing. If you look closely, we are still seeing that little dotted line here. If you look very closely here. And it follows the keyboard focus. That's kind of what we want. But it's there, and I'm going to go and get rid of it now, because we don't need it anymore. And that is happening. That's one of those rare things. Where is that? I think it's under... Is it under maps and modes? No, I don't think it is. I think it's, let me search for it. It's something called focus, render focus line. There we go. Yeah, that's it. Just search for it. Render focus line, navigation only, always, non-pointer or never. So I'll do that. I'll switch it to never, and then that should be, yeah, shouldn't be there anymore. Just quickly, is that true, y'all? Yeah, no more dotted line. Look at that. Made that happen. Cool. Okay, then just to finish off the gamepad navigation, let's give the user a different message depending if we're using a gamepad or if we're using the keyboard. So, and also let's hook up the functions that we've set here for the other outfits and for the other skin tones. So that functionality that is there on the keyboard, that is currently not there on the gamepad. So let's set that up on the D-pad and on the remaining action buttons, and then we'll add a different message here depending if we're using a gamepad or not. So we'll set up the buttons first. That's a really simple thing to do, and then we'll deal with the message. And also we need more music, don't we? Jerry McHoy is totally over and done with here. He's played his thing. What sounds like it, I wonder? We'll stick with that. Similar tracks. Franz Gordon and Hara Noda. Hara Noda is also good. Let's do that. Perfect. Like it. Alrighty, so this happens on the project settings under input. And it's literally just adding another one to everything that we have here already. So summon menu, we've already done that. Outfit 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's go add things to that. So the outfits, we have the D-pad. So let's do that starting at the top here perhaps. Sadly, I can't do it like on the keyboard. I can't press this now, sadly. That would be nice. But they call that the D-pad. So we'll start with up. Gamepad, D-pad, right. D-pad down and outfit 4. D-pad left. All right, nicely done. Alrighty, so then the skin, that happens here, A, B, and C. We already have the X button as jumping, so I'll say we use the other face button since we only have 3 skins to choose from. That's kind of nice. So the square button that is on the Xbox controller is called the X button. On the PlayStation controller, it's the square button. By the way, the PlayStation 5 has been released. The Sony UK have had one of those ad campaigns in which they've turned the London Underground sign, which looks a little bit like the red circle button. They've turned some of the London Underground signs around Oxford Circus, one of the major cosmopolitan busy people areas, into a green triangle, a purple square and a blue X, and then just put underground into that. That was a really nice thing. That's on Twitter, you can see that. Yeah, Sony UK, major advertising effort there. Looks very cool. It's amazing that London Underground works together with them. It is so super nice that you have so much work on, Christina, though. I think that's beautiful. That's awesome. If you need me to help with anything in your workflow, do let me know. Genuine offer. If you need help, do let me know. there's not much I can do, but the stuff I can do, which you may have an idea of what I can and what I cannot do, you know, push it my direction. I'm more than happy to help you. If there's any grunt work that needs to be done, I'm more than happy to give you a hand. So I think these are called the action buttons or whatnot, are they? Face button, there we go. So face button left, let's start with that. Gamepad face button left. Then this one is going to be, nope, that's here. So that's the face button top. And then this one is going to be called face button right. All right, that should do that. Let's just see if it works, shall we? It's always nice. So now it's about the button. Face button will change the man's skin color. Look at that. So we can have pale, kind of Hispanic, and black. That's nice. Outfit. Outfit is changed. Subtle color change nevertheless. How about you, lady? Yes, outfit changes and skin color changes. So that is now all available on the gamepad. And we can still jump for joy. This is great. Haha. So now let's go and, you know, so many successes here in a row. That is just so cool. Yeah, that was, I don't know if we can, I don't know how she's made. I don't know if she has, yeah, so she doesn't have legs. So we can't actually dedicate the skirt as a different material. She's just, you know, her legs and the skirt are merged. So that's not something we can, what we'd have to do here is make it a different animation that she only has. If it's a woman, she can only have a slower walk speed. So that we could probably do that. She can't run. That might be something we could add, that we say if character is a woman, then, you know, don't let her run. We can only then make her walk this like slow, you know, otherwise it would be detrimental to her skirt. One of those things. Yes, absolutely, do that, no worries. And if you need me to sign an NDA for your work, I'm happy to do that as well. If it's something that that your clients insist on, I totally agree to do that. There, these buttons also light up, by the way. Very nice. Okay, so message and make the thing dismiss when I select the character. I don't want to have to dismiss it manually. I want when we're using a game controller, I would like for this thing to just dismiss itself automatically. So for that, let's go ahead and set that as a variable here on our character. And we can test that right here. When we're summoning the menu, we get the actual key that brought up the menu. So just before we launch into the rest of this thing here, let's make ourselves a new variable down here. This will be a Boolean, and this is going to be something called is using gamepad, and that'll just be a yes or no thing, and we extract that from this key. So this key, no matter what it is, we can test every key and ask, is this a gamepad key? So we just type in gamepad, and this is it, is gamepad key. And that is something now we can just set with our variable. So I'll go and set that here and just give it that value. If it's the keyboard, it'll default to no. If it's the gamepad, it'll default to yes. And with that variable selected, we can now make decisions in other parts of our complicated code. So one of them is hide menu. That's one thing I'd like to amend, because we can test this variable in here at one point, and once we've no, hang on, what am I talking about? It's not in hide menu, is it? It's in hide menu. Already dismisses that, so that's not actually where we need that. We need to have that in when we make a character selection. So that's actually in the switch logic, isn't it? So there's the change the skeletal mesh. That's the function that makes that change, and I suppose we can either do it inside that function or put it at the outside here. I might do that. I might put it on the outside here. We're just going to query are we using a gamepad? Get is using gamepad. And from this we can now go branch off and use that as a decision-making thing. If we are using a gamepad, then please call the hide menu function, like so, hide menu. And if we're not, then do nothing. So that should have taken care of that. I think that's, hopefully. It is amazing, that mouse overlay, Christina. That was a really nifty idea. I don't know how you did it, but that was really cool, especially because it comes up with that dimmed kind of strap at the bottom. That was really helpful. I thought that was really nice. And the mouse, it wasn't irritating at all. It was literally, I knew exactly what you were doing. It really just clarified the whole process. Sometimes when you type in text, it brings up these things when you rename something or when you search for something, it brings up these large letters. That is actually perfectly fine because it's very useful when you're navigating around, because there's so many things I've actually picked up from that video, including Windows Dark Mode, by the way. That is, I really like the dark Blender top bar that you had there, and I was thinking, oh, how is that done? And of course, Windows Dark Mode, I would imagine, and it works so well. I now have Windows Dark Mode running superb, much better than before. So very good. Mr. Brian, top of the evening to you. Very good to see you. I love how quickly you get from work to home and settled into Twitch. That is really cool. Didn't spot you there. Very nice to see you. And also, for the record, Christina, I don't think there were that many bad mistakes in the video. If you were to give me that video and say, please edit this and make it slightly shorter, I think I would say, other than top and tail it with a graphic or with an intro, I think I wouldn't do anything. I would probably, what I'd be inclined to do is, you give so many small little tips, I would probably be inclined to do just chop the video up and make it into, I don't know, 20 pieces almost. That is something I'd be interested in doing. I don't know if this video is suitable for that, but what I love watching is short videos that just show you one trick, like, you know, how do you model a chair with curves in Blender. That is just something that's just magical. You show the chair in the beginning with a little turntable animation, and you go, hey, this is how we set up the curves, this is how you do that, and then just go, you know, extrude that here, put that there, and boom. Or how do you make an umbrella, like a really super simple thing. And for you, it's too simple. For me, it's like magic. Watching 20 of those, I'm thinking, oh my God, this is amazing. Oh, that's an OBS. How exciting. That is really cool. Oh, OBS is going places, I'm telling you. They've just, in the latest version, they've introduced something that is just so useful if you guys use OBS in conjunction with something like a conference call, like Zoom or whatever. OBS now have a thing in which you can use the OBS output as a virtual camera source in Windows. So rather than giving somebody your direct webcam feed into something like Skype or Discord or Zoom, you can put the camera into OBS and then pick up the OBS output as a virtual source that you can then select in Discord, OBS or Zoom. And the advantage then is, of course, that you can say, hey, let me quickly share my screen, and you just literally switch over rather than fiddle with a button. So this is really nice. You can also then add other things to your own webcam if you're in a Zoom meeting. You can add straps to it and whatnot. And of course, you can then also, with the Stream Deck, you can just zoom in and out into particular areas. So that's, you know, that's also very nice. OBS rules. OBS 26. What was I going to do? Are we dismissing the menu? Oh yeah, I was going to test it, wasn't I? I don't think I've tested it yet. That comes up, I pick the character, I go plonk, menu goes away. That's exactly the kind of gamepad user experience I like. You bring up the menu, you pick it up, and you go, boom. It just goes, changes the character and dismisses the menu automatically. That's what I was looking for. Awesome. There. Change the outfit. Awesome stuff. Change the, well, outfit is here. Skin color, whoops, skin color is here. That's nice. Now that we're on a roll, let's go and change that description text to something more appropriate when we're using the gamepad. That's also fairly easy, namely by setting ourselves another exciting little variable. This one could be, in the menu. That's this here. Yeah, this is where that is. This is where I'm just going to go and copy this text out of here. And I'm just going to go and bind this to an actual variable in fact, on our character. First of all, I'll need that variable, I suppose. And I'll call it description text. Is that how you spell it? Description text, yes. It's not a Boolean, of course. That's up here. It'll be a string, I think. Could also be a name. I think a string is appropriate. And we'll add a new function that lets us set this description text depending on what the user is using. Call that change description. I don't want to call it set description because set is something like a magical thing. I don't want to confuse myself there. So change or update. How about that? Update description text. That's it. And all we need here is literally our Boolean variable. Are we using a gamepad again or not? Get that. Branch off depending if we're doing that or not. If we are using a gamepad, then we'll go and grab this description text variable thing and set it. Whoops, what happened here? Set on true and another one on false. So it'll just be a different text depending what we're using. So if we're using a gamepad, well, if we're not using a gamepad, I can just paste in the text that I've just grabbed from the thing. If we are using a gamepad, I'd like to say something else. In that case, it's not 1 to 4. It's not appropriate anymore. I'd say it's the D-pad. Hello? Keyboard? D-pad to change outfits, and action buttons to change skin tones. Boom. Now, all we need to make sure is that we call this function just before the menu is being brought up. So I suppose just over here, we can do it in show menu. Actually, we don't have to do it here. We can do it in here, in show menu. Let's do that. In show menu, long thing that is. Set is menu visible. That's just at the very beginning here, before we do that. Actually, let's set the thing first, and then we'll go and update the description text in here. Update description text. There we go. It just needs to be called at an appropriate place. So before we start playing the animation of the menu, we'll quickly change our own variable here that gives us a different description text now. Now the thing that we need to do is make sure that in the menu this is being picked up from there. And the awesome thing is that I can literally do this with a binding. So this text, rather than to come from this box, I'll go and bind it, create binding to, in fact, the character, and then pick, it's actually further down here, a variable that we currently don't see in here because it's not a public variable. Duh. Or it's not compiled. It could be that it's not compiled. Let's try this again. Bind to the character. No, it's not a public variable. No, there it is. Description text. There we go. Perfect. That's it. Bind that to that. So now this text comes from my character. And of course, the character's thing will be different depending on what we're using. Let's see if it works. So bring it up from a keyboard. Keyboard currently doesn't really react to my key presses again. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I need to switch it off. There we go. It's a little bit delayed, but yes. Keyboard. Keyboard's back in action. Keyboard needs maybe new batteries. I have actually put new batteries in this morning, so I don't know. Oh yeah, no worries. Those things, absolutely. If you have videos like that, send them over. We can, I might send you an invitation to my OneDrive folder. Maybe that's a good idea. We'll do it in OneDrive maybe. My Dropbox is slim. Creative Cloud doesn't work. Google Drive I don't really use, but OneDrive I have a good chunk of space. So I'll send you a link, and whatever you like editing, make a folder, dump it in there, and I'll pick it up. Be nice. Also, non-board even works without OBS. That's cool. That's good. So it's just an overlay like this here, like the pointer focus. It's a bit like that. It's just on, and then if you do a screen recording, it happens to be in Vision. But yeah, I see. That's cool. Very good. So text says 1 to 4 to change outfits. Also, when I do that, menu does not go away. Good stuff. 1 to 4 to change outfits. Now grab game controller and different description text. And menu disappears as soon as I've selected something. Also notice that now that the text is a bit longer, it's still in Vision, so it's not quite out of Vision. I need to move that away a little bit. That's cool. We can do that. That's okay. So let's do that. But it works, so that's really nice. I like that. So in that animation here, that value, this is the description text here, X transform is minus 1350. Let's set that to minus 1600 then. Maybe that's a bit overkill, maybe 1500. There, 15 should be enough. And I need to also make sure that this default value is set when I don't click the animation. So this is currently still set to minus 1350, so minus 1500. Let's see what happens if we do this again. Oh, high drive, that's true. High drive, that's also a nice idea. Yeah, that'll work as well. D-pad, and it's out of Vision. Perfect. There we go. Woo! All right. So yes, that is almost. Is that all we wanted to do? Is that all? Can't quite believe it. Let's go to the desert. A nice little asynchronous loading screen would be nice. I don't know how to do that yet. There we go. Perfect. Cursor out of the way. That's all nice. This could be a piece of cloth. I might be able to separate that and add cloth physics to it. That would be cool. I don't know if it works or not, but it's worth a try. I like the feather in her hair as well. That would be nice if we just make that independent from her body so that wafts around. That might be cool. We could try. It would be nice. No promises, but yeah, that would be really cool if that would work. Especially with the feather. I can try the feather. See if I can remember how to do that. So this works on the other level as well. That's nice. And the character is being brought across as well. So that's nice. If we go back to town now, this character is now in town. So if I go and select someone else, like, I don't know, him, and give him that skin and that outfit, and then we go into the desert, then we retain that character. That's cool. And he walks on water. Fine, okay, whatever. Alrighty. What else did I want to do? Oh, there was something else. This level here is from the Western Frontier pack, whereas the other one here, the town one, that is from the original pack of which I'm using these characters here. So the Frontier pack is an expansion, and I wanted to potentially make the other characters selectable as well. So the other pack comes with, I think 21 more characters, which is really exciting. And it would mean, also wanted to open some more doors here that we can go into more of these things. I might do that. Hello there, how you doing? Yeah, open some more doors here that we can go and see what else people have got here in the houses. Makes for better exploration here. The coffin shop, no way. You could do with an Undertaker sign. I think I have that. Barbershop. This is the Grand, what is that? The Grand Hotel. Yeah, oh, there's the Undertaker. I didn't see that sign. It's high up there. So yes, the other characters, they have not been retargeted, so I could potentially make it so that we can select those as well. This means a lot of amendments to the buttons and to the materials, but we could do it, especially if the materials are compatible, which I don't know, but let's have a look. Does it? I don't think I've seen my Blue Heaven, Brian. Very nice. Yeah, so there's a few doors I want to open. Let's do that. Let's do door opening for more exploration here and have a quick go at the cloth physics for the woman. That'd be nice. Yeah, let's do that. While Brian's having dinner. What's happening with the arugula? Do you know, and Dropbox, essentially, Christina, is very expensive. There are other solutions out there, like High Drive is a great idea. That's a really good idea. Yes, exactly. It's like it's fairly flimsy. It's about the kind of the size of your finger, and it's got like 3 or 4 little tiny sprockets that come off. And in London, you find it on the special pizza that the Pizza Hut people make. Not Pizza Hut, Pizza Express people make. It's an upmarket pizza chain in the UK. Yes, they put arugula on a special pizza, which is very nice. I do like that. Yeah, it's kind of a dry salad. Very nice. So frontier map, town map. There we go. That's the one. I would like to save everything. Also, commit some stuff to version control, actually, while we're here. Save all. And put on our all hard work to our version control thing. There's a lot of stuff implemented. Whoops. My keyboard isn't happy. Gamepad logic. And, you know, that should be enough for that. So, openable doors. This is one we should make available to walk in. Is that hinged at the correct place here? No one can really tell. We would, I suppose, you'd really hinge it at the other end. I don't know how to change the pivot point in Unreal Engine. So actually, I'll put that on my list of things to explore for tomorrow. This is all open. This isn't open. The Grand Hotel. Oh, keyboard, come on. Come on, come on. Walk forward. It's the W key. W. Come on. Come on. Keyboard. Mouse is working. You should be working too. What is wrong with you? I did find it in the dumpster, so it is, you know, perfectly understandable if it, you know, somebody would have thrown it away for a reason. But you know, it was working last time I checked, so I'm using it because it's a bit longer than all the other keyboards. I mean, I'm balancing this on my lap, so it's, there we go. All the other keyboards are just too short, or my legs are too far apart. I can't tell. Do they open out or in? What do you think? Maybe they open in these doors. There. It'll be not difficult to add logic to this, that when we approach this, it will... Come on, keyboard. that the doors will open. I wonder if it's just a little bit, some contact is maybe oxidized here. I don't know what it is. That's what takes the longest, isn't it, Rod? Takes forever, that sort of stuff. Poses, positioning X to Y. Maybe the Undertaker's door at the top. Yeah, let's open that as well. That's cool. Keyboard. There we go. Maybe that door opens out. There. Sheriff's station needs to be open, of course. Very important. And perhaps in. There we go. Always open, since we can then have a look inside the... Oh, come on, keyboard. It is such a shame, isn't it? It's not the connectivity, because the receiver also picks up the trackball, and that works fine. It's just that keyboard really just doesn't want to do it. Some keyboards have issues with rechargeable battery, so it could also be that. That's already open. The church is also open. That's nice. What we got over here? Supply trading post. That's nice. That's open. Ammunition shop. Yes, let's open that as well. Open to the general public, including our characters. I hope they can walk in there. Another important reason to make this gamepad compatible, because otherwise I can't play it with a broken keyboard. Terrible. There, okay, let's see if we can walk in. And then let's have a look at cloth dynamics. That'd be good to see if that works. This was open, this was also open here, barbershop. Yep, can now have my hair cut. That's cool. If you can take your hat off, very important. Ammunition shop. Hello. Not much ammunition for sale, so we could put stuff on the shelf. Good thing there's a rope lying around there. Interesting. Here we go. Fruit shop. Nice. Bank. Oh yeah, bank. I think we could go in there already. I think I should put some safes in here. Interesting how small the bank is compared to all the other buildings. Sheriff's building. And we have a cell. That's nice. Once closed. Should put an inmate in there. Oh well. And ammo shop, we've already been there. And yeah, okay, cool. Good stuff. So now we can go into everything, including the Grand Hotel. Doesn't look that grand after all once I'm inside. In fact, there's nothing much inside. Hey, that's okay. Okay, let's see if we can add cloth dynamics to this little piece of hair, or this piece of feather at the front of this female character here, and to the back of the wafty bit. So I don't know if I can select it. It all depends on if Unreal Engine lets me select that or not. Also depends on if I can remember where and how to do that. Currently I'm drawing a blank, so you know, let's see what happens next. You get super sleepy, no worries, Beard Goblin. Thank you for dropping by. It's very nice that you could make it for the whole session. Look at that, your health is already getting better. Isn't that amazing? And thank you so much for the tip with the horses. That is something I'm looking into. That'd be really good to implement that. That would be so good. Let's in fact try to make it on this character. I've put, I think yesterday, we've added, yeah, there's another character here, the Sinti Bystander, and this is that character. So I think I might try with that actual skeletal mesh to just leave it on here, so that yeah, I'll just, we'll see what happens. There's one thing in the bystander I was going to remove, actually. That's the camera. We don't really need that in here anymore. There we go. Then there's no inset camera there. So I think the way this works is we go into these characters here and we pick the character that we want to amend, like her, I think. Keyboard. Yeah, I think I'm having issues with my keyboard. I'm not sure if this is going to be successful because I never know, am I pressing the modifier key now or not? Because my keyboard doesn't... Oh, there we go. So I have to switch it on and off between every key press. There we go. That might be a tad bit of a hindrance here. It works for short periods of time, but if I'm futzing with things I'm not actually super sure about, I don't know if it's going to be... if that's going to be successful. Let me try anyway. So I'm going to go over to clothing and I'll have to make usually a piece of, I can select something that I'd like to dedicate as a piece of cloth, I think. Apex file, do you know what that is? Copy clothing from skeletal mesh. I think that's a good idea. And she is working girl. Let's try that. Does that work? Import Apex file, nothing seems to happen. There's something that you gotta get started with, and I don't really see that option, nor do I remember how to really use it. Was it create asset? Yeah, I don't think so. I think in clothing, you pick something on the character and then you just go and create something that you then dedicate to clothing. Then you apply the weight map as to where you want the dynamics to happen. But I can't seem to do that. So does that work? Nope, that's certainly not it. Usually there's a button here that you press, and import isn't it, copy obviously is also not it. No assets available, that doesn't sound good. So yeah, I'll have to read up on that. But I might have that solution by tomorrow. Let me play around with this a little bit. And given that my keyboard isn't really my best friend at the moment, I might just call it a day at this point. We've been super successful. I might actually build a project out that I can then upload to my Ko-fi store, that you guys can put it through the ringer, because I think... yeah, look, he's just not happy. He's just not working anymore. Oh, yeah, only after a lot of hesitation does he do that. So I hope I'll have that fixed by tomorrow. I might build this and put it on my Ko-fi store as a little freebie for you to try, if you wish. Hopefully your keyboard works better. And let me know if there's anything else that's missing, aside from riding horses, because I really don't know how to do that. But yes, other than that, I'm going to go and call it a day, my friends. Thank you so very much for dropping by and joining me for this exciting session. That's kind of almost concludes the project, I think. This is it for the project. I think now I can go and start with another Cinti set and do exactly the same thing for that, and to build another little project. But tomorrow afternoon, let's have a look if we can bring in some more of these other characters from the Frontier pack. I may have to retarget them or give them a different skeleton so that they can also animate. And then we'll see how easy / difficult it is to add those also to the selection menu. It'll be like tons and tons of buttons, but it'll be really, really exciting to do that if we can. Awesome. Have a wonderful night or a wonderful evening or a wonderful morning, depending on where you're watching. And I will see you hopefully tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.